Hello, what's up, everyone? Welcome to the next section. And in this section, we will be going on, and I would be, we will be creating our next relation, which will be our one to, I would say, many and many to one, right? And there are a lot of ways in which you can, create those relation. But I will give you a simple and shortcut way in which, you can go and create those relation, right? And I think this is my best or go-to way of creating that relation in Directus. Okay, so let's move on. Let's go to our this Directus thing right over here, and this is the relation which we will be building in our, I would say, this video, right? So we are having our authors, right, and we are having our books collection, right? Now, we all know that a single author can have multiple books, right? So it is a one-to-many relation from, I would say, right to left. But from left to right, it will be many to one, right? Because many books can belong to a single author, right? So that's why I'm naming it as, one to many and many to one, right? So yeah, this is the fun part, I would say, where we go into our Directus Data Studio and where we will be designing this schema, right? So yeah, let's start, right? So let's go and first create our, I would say, this authors collection. Then we will go ahead and create our books collection, and then we will form this relationship of one to many and many to one, right? So let's come to our directors. Let's go to settings and data model. Let's create our very first relation and let's name it as authors. And for primary key, I will go with this generated UUID. Let's go next, and I will go with all the system default fields. Okay, let's select it, and here we are having our very first relation, right? So now we are having our first name, last name, age, and email, right? So let's go to get field and let's name it as an, I would say, input field with type string, and this will be our first underscore name, and let's keep the rest as default. Let's save this thing, and let's create a last name as well. So last underscore name. Let's go with the default options as well. Now we need age, if I'm not wrong. So yeah, we need the age. So let's go with input age, and rather going for the string type, this time we will choose our integer, right? And the maximum value I like to keep is around 150 because it's obvious, right? Nowadays there are no any individuals who will live 150 years or longer, right? But again, there might be, I don't know. But for a safety side, I just keep it as 150, right? So let's save this, and we are having our age parameter as well. And then I think we need an email, so let's create a field for email. So let's go with input type is string, and let's name it as email. And rather going with the saving option, let's continue with the advanced field creation mode because I need to validate it as well. So inside validation, let's go and add a filter, and let's say email should match the regular expression, and this regular expression can be generated from Google if you like to. So I'm having this expression from Gemini AI. So by this it validates your email as well. So let's copy this and paste it over here, and let's say this should be a okay, so should be a valid email, right? So this should be our message to if someone puts invalid email, right? So let's save this thing and you're good to go. And before going further, I think we are good to go for now, but rather going further, let's keep the first name and last name as required, right? So let's go with first name and field, it should be required, and the last name, this should also be required, and let's save this thing, right? And I think we are good to go with our authors collection. So let's try this out in a content section, right? So if you go to content and authors, let's create one, let's call it as JK Rowling, right? The famous Harry Potter author. Let's age 45. Don't know the exact age, but let's go with 45. And now let's say admin@test.com for the email, and let's save this thing. And this is our record right over here. Okay. And it's working way fine, right? So now we are good to go for the, I would say, books collection. But before that, let's just delete this record for now, and let's jump for, I would say, the books collection right over here. So let's go to settings, into, I would say, data model, and here we will be creating our next collection, which will be our books, right? And let's go for UUID, and let's select all the system default fields. Let's save this, and what attributes we need is that title, category, price, and author ID, right? So let's go with the title. So let's go input, let's call it as title of the book. The default type will be string, and I think I don't need to provide the placeholder, so let's save this thing. And the next one is category, right? So for category, let's go into this drop down section because I will be having some fixed categories, right? So let's say it is category, and it will be of type string. And now let's add some choices. So let's say it's fiction. Let's copy and paste it over here. Let's select any random icon. This one, not a good one, but it will work fine. So let's go with the yellow color, save this thing. Let's create another choice, and now let's call it as crime maybe. I don't know whether this is in category or not, but yeah, let's keep it. So let's see if any icon, maybe this one, and let's choose a different color this time, and let's save this thing, right? So we will be having two categories, fiction and crime, right? So now we're good to go with the default option. So let's save this thing, and we will be having our category, right? Now moving on, we also need our price as well, right? So let's go and create field, and let's select the input field. Let's call it as price, and in the type, let's go with the decimal point system, right? So this should work, and we are good with the default options, and let's save this thing, right? So this will be our price. So now I think we are good with our books collection. Apart from that, yeah, I think we should make the title as required. So let's select title and let's go into field. Let's select as a required and let's save this, right? So that obviously, a book without a title is meaningless, right? So we are good to go from here. And let me just check over here. And the last one is that foreign key, right? And we will not create that foreign key, rather we will tell Directus to do that for us, right? When we will be creating that relation. So now let's try out our books content, right? So let's go into content section for the books part. Let's create over here and let's call it as Harry Potter. And let's say this is our fiction category, and let's say the price is $40, right? And let's save this thing, and it's working way fine, right? So now we are good to go. Now let's delete this book as well. And now let's go and create our relation, right? So the relation is, I would say one to many and many to one. And the steps now I'm going to show you is the simplest way to create a relation, which will be, I would say, both ways, right? So it will be a one to many relation from the author side and many to one relation from the book side, right? And that's how I like to create relations with Directus. So let's go into books and let's opt for this books collection, right? Because we will be selecting many to one from the book side, and we will also tell Directus that also create a reverse relation of one to many from the author side as well, right? So let's go with the steps. Now let's go to settings, data model, and books, and here we will be selecting this create field, and we will select many to one. Okay, and this is how I like to create the relation, but there are other ways of creating relation as well, right? So let's select many to one, and now this will ask you that what column name you want to keep, right? So since we are in our books collection, so books will be pointing, I would say, back to authors, right? So I will name the column as author, right? So we'll keep it as author, and now it is asking you that whether you want to, I would say, select that related collection, right? So our related collection will be, since we are in books, so it will be back to authors, right? And let's select a display template. The display template should be, let's keep it as first name and with the space, and then we will keep it as last name right over here. Okay, and I think we are good to go with the other options, but here is the trickiest part, right? So before saving it, let's go into our advanced creation field mode, which is this one right over here. And this is where I like to just verify our relationship and just provide some extra options as well, right? So if you go to this relationship section right over here, you can see that this is saying that this collection will be having an author column, which will be pointing to the author's collection ID, right? And this is what we want, right? But here you can see that there is another option by which you can tell Directus that also create a reverse relationship of one to many back to authors as well, right? And this is the one which I was talking about, right? So this is one way of telling Directus that, yeah, I want a many to one relation from left to right, but also go and create a one to many relation from right to left back to this author's, right? So now let's go into our this and let's check this one and let's name the field as books, right? So this is good to go. I think this should work fine. And yeah, so let's save this thing, and this will go and create your one to many relation from, I would say, right to left, and many to one relation from from left to right, right? So that's what Directus will do, right? And I think we are good to go for now. Now, if you go back to this, I would say author section, so you will be having a one to many relation with the books. You can see that the Directus has automatically added. And now if you go back to books, so you will be having a many to one relation back to author, right? This is how I like to keep, I would say, create that relation of one to many and many to one, right? And now, obviously, yeah, you can go to the content section and play with it, right? So now if you go to this content section, now let's go with the authors and let's create one author. And right over here, you can see that while creating the author, you can also, create the books or add existing books, right? So now let's go the simplest option. Let's call it as JK, and let's call it as rolling. And let's say the age is 45 for now. Let's name as like admin at the rate test.com. Not a good email, but it will work fine. And we will not be, creating our books, although we can create new books and link directly, but I will go into the separate, books collection, and then we will be adding, I would say, author back to that book, right? So let's select and save this thing. And right over here, you can see that we are having our age, email, first name and last name, right? But we are not having our books as a variable over here or as a column. So we can add that as well. So let me go and select this books. Now you can select multiple fields, but I think I will go with the book, and let's select the books one, right? So we are having an array right over here. Okay, so because we have a one-to-many relation, so obviously one author will be having multiple books, right? So that is why Directus is showing you this array format, right? Now since we are not having any books linked back to this author, so that's why we are having an empty array, right? Let's go back to books and let's create a one, and let's call it as Harry Potter. Let's select the category. Let's go with the fiction one. Let's say it's 40 for the price, and now this time we will link this to the author of that J.K. Rowling, right? So let's select this one and let's save it, right? And let's save this thing and we're good to go, right? Now, if you come back to our author section, you can see that I don't know why that column disappeared from here, which was that books column. So let's go back to select books. And now we are having that one, I would say, record, or I would say one book record, which is being linked with this author right over it, okay? Now the problem here is that we are having, or we are seeing these IDs of that book, but we don't really want that, right? We rather want to see the title of the book, right? That would be, I would say, a lot more meaningful, right? So now we can change these options, right? So we can go into our authors collection, right? So let's go to authors. Let's select this book and let's go to display, and in related values, you can select a display template, right? So let's keep that as the title of the book, right? So this should work fine. So let's save this thing. And now if you go back to the content section, now I don't know why that uh, column is being disappeared, but let's add it again. So let's select the books, and now it is saying one item, and if you click on this, it will be showing you the book name, which is your Harry Potter. And I think this is more meaningful rather, displaying an array of random IDs, right? So now let's move on. Let's go into book section, and here we can also, provide the information of the author to which this book belongs to, right? So let's select the book, and I will be showing the author's first name and last name right over here. Okay, and this will make much more sense, right? And that is, I would say, a way in which you can go and create one-to-many and many-to-one relations, right? And this is how much simple it is to map that relation back to, I would say, directors by using their data studio, right? So I think, yeah, that's it from this side. This is how you can, link, I would say, one-to-many and many-to-one relation. And yeah, you can go and build your MVPs faster by using this approach, right? So I think in the coming on section, in the next video, what we'll be doing is that we will be going on, and we will be looking into the many-to-many relationship, which is, I would say, a third table, a third junction table in which you link all those IDs of those tables, right? Which is, I would say, a many-to-many part, right? For those guys who are from database management systems, they know that what I'm talking about. But yeah, we will be doing that in the coming on, I would say, section, right? But before going on, just an extra step is that right now you can see that the authors, the column is being, hidden by when you change the, I would say, UI. So what we can do is we can create a bookmark for it, right? So let's say if this is a book, right? And we want to display the author information. So let's select our author's first name, and let's select the author's last name as well, right? And let's create a bookmark over here, and we can call it as books with authors, right? And let's keep it this color, and let's save it, right? Now doesn't matter what will be your default layout, but this should always be having your author information right over here, okay? And that's how you can use your, I would say, bookmarks, right? And same you can do that with authors as well, right? So let's add that column, which was our books, and let's select our title, right? So this makes much more sense. And now, oh sorry, not the title of yeah, title of the book, right? Yeah, this is what I was requiring, right? So you can also bookmark this as well, right? So let's go to our bookmark and let's call it as author with the books, right? And you can choose a different color if you want, and a different icon, but I will go with the default one. Let's save this thing and get good to go, right? Now you can go back to authors. You will not be having your that information of the book, but if you go here, you will be having the information of the book title, right? And here you can see the information of the author as well, right? So that's how you can, use the feature of bookmarks while viewing the data, right? So before ending the video, I think we can utilize those scenarios in which we can add one more book and we can link it back to that J.K. Rowling author, right? So now if you come back to books, what I can do is I can come over here, and here I think there's one issue in which you can see that rather viewing the information of author, we are getting back that ID, right? So we can just, hide that field and we can just add one column in which we will be getting that author's, I would say, first name and last name, right? But now let's go and create another book and link it back to, I would say, author, the same author, right? So let's create a book and let's say this is our Harry Potter part 2, maybe. And let's go with the fiction category. The price this time is, let's say, 70 USD. And let's select the same author, right? And let's save this thing. Now, once you save this thing, you can see that we are having that information right over here. Now, let's see that how these are bookmarks work, right? So if you come this book with authors, you can see that we are having two books, right? Which is our Harry Potter and Harry Potter Part 2. And both are being linked to the same, I would say, author, which is J.K. Rowling, right? And now if you come back to authors, you can see that here now things have changed, right? So you are having a comma separated values by which you can see that this, I would say, author is having two books, which is Harry Potter Part 2 and Harry Potter, right? And you are getting those titles as well, right? And this is, I would say, how you can, link multiple books with the same authors, because we have created that one to many and many to one relation, right? So yeah, that's it from now, I would say. In the next video, we'll go and look into our many to many relations, right? So see you in the next video.